feel like I'm in a jungle between the peas and the potatoes. Oh, that's what it looks like behind me. I started cleaning wall bed 1 out yesterday. I still have a significant amount to remove today, and I'm probably going to go ahead and pull the potatoes also. They were volunteers, and I'm actually not sure how they even volunteered, because we actually emptied the dirt in this wall out down at least to the 4th block and then refilled it this winter. So I don't know where those potatoes came from. They must be super deep. No idea, but I need to get the rest of that done now. And also, today is the 12th day since I mowed. And I'm not too bothered by the grass. Just some of the beds are a little low, and I don't want the weeds to have a chance to spill over and spread too many seeds that way. I removed 3 heads of cauliflower yesterday. One of them was really huge, and I just wanted to compare sizes. That one's getting really big. And the other 2 were getting chewed up by worms. I left some smaller ones because I wanted to give them a chance to get bigger. But I also don't want too many worms to take hold. Do you see how big that is? Let me show you the picture from yesterday. The cauliflower was literally bigger than my head. And I have to tell you, I am just an adequate gardener. I just keep planting. Half of what I grow dies, but if you plant enough, then you still get enough harvest, even if half of it dies. That head's still little. Why, hello. Have you found an ideal sunning spot? I just walked up to the gates to go in with a mower, and this lizard's just chilling. Hey, little guy. Good morning. It's 6 o'clock. See my sleepy eyes? I would normally be on a walk right now, but we are excited to have friends coming to visit midday today for about 7 hours from out of town. So I need to get my garden work done. I'm out of potatoes, so I'm actually going to go ahead and dig the potatoes in this bed, since I need to empty this bed anyway to get ready for the sweet potatoes. So I'm going to get my morning work done in the garden first, and then if I have time, I will walk later. I don't know what to expect from these potatoes since they weren't actually planted here. I don't know how far down I'm going to be digging to get these out. I'm going to get the greens out of the way first. And I have a wagon ready for the potato greens to go to the chickens. Yes, I do walk in my raised beds when I need to. It's the beauty of having these big stone pieces. Just climb right up in here. The last time anything potato related was planted here was February of 2023. So everything that's growing here is a volunteer. Lots of little baby potatoes, so this just needs more time to produce more. But it doesn't get more time. It was never supposed to be here anyway. And I need the bed. And now we'll dig up the remaining few volunteer potato plants on this side. That's the original potato. All right, these are the potatoes I got from plants I never planted. And I'm sure there are more baby potatoes still in the dirt that I couldn't get to, and they will sprout up in the future. The gift that keeps on giving. Tomorrow, which is Friday or Sunday, we'll top this bed off with some fresh compost, mushroom compost, and then I will be planting my sweet potato slips. I'm leaving these collards here for now. We'll harvest the rest of those today when friends are here, because I know they're going to want to take some home. Now I can do the other thing that I wanted to do, which was turn my overhead sprinkler on this side of the garden. I didn't want to run that sprinkler and have that bed get wet before I harvested the potatoes. It's much easier when the soil's nice and dry. It's supposed to thunderstorm this evening, tomorrow evening, the next evening. But I've learned over the years to not always trust the weather. And sometimes I've not watered expecting the forecast to be correct and that rain's going to come, and then it never rains. So this side of the garden needs some water. There are no tomato plants over here, so there won't be anything hitting the tomato plants with overhead water. And now I can do that. Good morning, little prince. We sold your dad, but we have you. You were hatched on a day of the eclipse in April. You're an eclipse bird. So I have the water stopping right here on the peas and potatoes, so nothing hits the tomatoes over there. I wasn't mocking before or trying to have any kind of false humility when I said that I'm just an adequate gardener. That's really how I feel, because so much of what I do fails or dies or just doesn't produce what I wanted, and you just don't feel like you're that great of a gardener, even if you have a garden full of green stuff. What I find to be the biggest secret is the time that you put in. If you're putting in enough time and you're out in the garden and you're tending the areas that need to be tended, then you will get production. Just considering feeling the inadequacies of being a gardener, that reminds me of a quote about feeling less and less good about yourself the closer you draw to Jesus. And I won't explain it well, so let me just share that quote with you. It's Friday morning now, and I'm pretty tired. We've hosted 2 events at our house this week, and I'm all extroverted out. I need a day off, but my day off is going to be tomorrow on Sabbath. So today I do still need to get in the garden and do some work, even though I would rather just kind of zone out today. But the little things I'm going to work on today are just things to keep it looking clean and nice. And I was thinking when I was picking these strawberries earlier, about 2015, I broke my ankle. I think it was the last weekend in May, which for a gardener is not very pleasant. And I was in a cast. It took me a week to get surgery, and then I was in a cast. I had 12 screws and a plate put in my ankle to hold it back together so the bone could heal correctly. So I could not put any weight on my right leg for 6 weeks. And that's a pivotal part of garden season. And my kids were a lot younger then. It was like 9 years ago. So I did have them just keep like one little corner, if they could just tend that one little corner. But the rest of the garden, I just had to let go. I couldn't get out. I was discouraged. When you have any kind of health issue, I gained so much sympathy that year for people that suffer with health issues long term or full time. And I was discouraged and I just wasn't motivated. But I got so sick and tired of sitting towards the end of the 6 weeks that I just came out in crutches, and I had a kneeling pad. My garden had completely been lost to weeds, and I came out, and 1 square foot by 1 square foot at a time, I worked through the garden. So I would drop my kneeling pad, I would get down on my knees, and I would just tear out and put into buckets as many weeds as I could reach from that area of where I was kneeling. And then I would get back up on my crutches, I would grab the kneeling pad, move it over to a new area, and just repeat again. I would kneel down, pull as many weeds as I could reach. And I did that for a few days out of sheer frustration, and I got my garden back. But it was pretty rough. And you go through that sometimes in garden seasons and in life. And you just have to work through it, because the joy is in the journey. So whatever you have to work on today or this week, give it your all. Put your hand to the plow, do what has to be done, and keep trusting the Lord that He's got a plan in place for you. But you're going to be faithful and you're going to do the work that you have to do today, whether it's for you, your family, your garden, your health. You matter to Jesus. It's not what you do that makes you precious. It's you. You are what's precious. So enjoy the day that you have today above ground. Every day is a gift. If you wake up breathing, you can say thank you first thing in the morning. All right, that's enough for me. Let's get to the garden work. I'm going to work on my tomato plants now. I have ignored them for the last week or maybe almost 2, and they need a little bit of tender care. Now, I am not planning on doing any kind of heavy or even moderate pruning of the plants this year. I'm just going to look for the branches that are laying all over the ground and get them clipped off. And I'm also going to be looking for any little weedy spots. And I've mentioned weeds before, but if you can take care of that stuff while it's little, it never has to become a problem. So while I do have between 60 and 62 tomato plants, I'm going to go around to each single plant and I'm going to pull out any weeds that are growing around it, and I'm going to trim up any branches that are on the ground. Okay? So that's what I'll be doing for the next, who knows, maybe half an hour. All right, that took me about 25 to 26 minutes to get through cleaning up all the tomato plants and any little weeds that were around. There actually weren't too many weeds to get because there is a weekly habit that we've created in our home, and it's called Weeding Wednesday. So every Wednesday, myself and the kids come out and we just weed the entire garden. So we walk the walls together, we do the beds. So absolutely any weed we can see, we pull out. We attempt to every Wednesday. And then throughout the rest of the week when I'm working, it's bugs everywhere. Then I can just pull the little ones that pop up here and there in whatever area I'm working in. So that helps to have a weekly routine to cut down on the weeds getting ahead of us. I hate bugs, by the way, hate bugs. All right, so the main thing that was on my list to do today was actually to come out and take care of all my onions. So I'm gonna go around and just use my finger and pull the dirt. Let me stick on one side. I'm gonna just pull the dirt away from the stem a little bit. And just to make sure the onions can bulb. So if they've got too much dirt pressure, if you planted them too deep by accident, they don't always bulb, and I find that this helps. You only have to do it once, in my experience anyway. Supposed to rain this afternoon, so it didn't ever rain yesterday to my knowledge. My sidewalk was still dry this morning when I got up, so I'm glad I did water the other side of the garden yesterday. But we had a little bit of rain this morning, and we should get some more this afternoon, though I don't see that on the radar. I'm kind of doubting that forecast too. But everything's damp enough. A little bit of dryness is good for the plants because it makes their roots go out and search for more sources of water. I've cut out the last of the edible spinach from here and added it on top of my strawberry bowl. And I will not be planting any more spinach seeds until August or September. And some of that will be for a fall spinach harvest, and some of it will be to overwinter, to harvest throughout the winter and spring. I grabbed 2 more cauliflower heads because the plants were getting eaten up with the cabbage worms. So gonna add those. So that makes 8 heads that I've gotten in the last week. And I still have at least 6 to 8 more good ones over there to get. And one other thing I wanted to show. There. And those. And these 2 little piles are the experiment with the spaghetti squash, winter squash seeds that I saved. We ate the last one in the last week or 10 days, and I just took the seeds from there and threw them in the ground just to see if they would come up, and also to see if they come up true to type, or if they cross-pollinated with a different squash last year. But I would love for them to be more spaghetti squash. It is early for planting these, at least a month, maybe 6 weeks earlier than I normally would have to get a fall harvest, but we'll see how they do against the squash bugs and if I get winter squash. The garlic, at least the hardneck here, is starting to look like it's dying, so we will be pulling that next week. Everything seems to be like 2 to 4 weeks early this year. I guess it's because we had a really warm spring, because I've even got blueberries that are turning blue, and they really shouldn't until the end of June. Well, I do have some early blues, but it's still early. So we're doing some garlic pulling next week. Oh, and I put this echinacea in the ground. It's been in a pot for a while, and if I didn't get it in the ground soon, it was probably going to die. So I just tucked it between these two dahlias. We'll see how that comes up. Well, I am going to keep doing my adequate gardening and letting God take care of the rest. I do my part and He does His. I research, plant, and tend, and He sends the sun and the rain. What do you want to be adequate at? I'm an adequate cook, an adequate bookkeeper, an adequate driver. But what I do want to excel at is loving people. And that can be the biggest challenge of all these days. But with God, nothing is impossible. Wherever your journey leads you today, I hope you have the joy down in your heart and that you're sharing it with those around you.